What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So it seems like a lot of things have been going around for Spider-Man PS4, and honestly speaking, I've not played this game for about 2 months, but today was the day that I decided to pick the game back up. And to kick off this video, something super cool to share is that the Spider-Cop is happening, but in a comic book. So over on Reddit, a user who goes by the name Lucas Luke posted, and I quote, "I'm making a Spider-Cop comic book with this cover art that you're seeing," and it does say, "Your finest neighborhood Spider-Cop." Now, what gets me the most is how the community have really taken to Spider-Cop alone. Of course, way back in the day when the game was sort of released, we saw, suit designs for the game and all these theories going about, DLCs, etc. But now to make a comic book just by that cover art alone, I can tell this is going to be amazing. And of course, with the sequel, I'm hoping that the way people have reacted about this whole Spider-Cop, even though it literally was just a sentence in the game, I'm hoping that it did inspire the devs a whole lot more to maybe even make a DLC for the sequel just dedicated to being Spider-Cop, where of course you work close by with the police of New York City, etc, etc. I mean, that would be absolutely amazing. Will you guys leave your thoughts on that in the comment section below? Now, moving on to better news, here's everything we know about Spider-Man PS4 sequel, and also worth noting, it has just been revealed that it took 3 whole years for Insomniac Games to actually get the Spider-Man's web swinging just right. So that being said, I guess now the basic mechanics seem to be in place. Again, I'm not a game developer, but I'm assuming that it just made the process a whole lot more easier when it comes down to making a sequel. Again, going off the basis that it will more than likely be based in New York as well, I guess like the basic template for the game is in place. So again, I'm just assuming, I could be completely wrong, but I'm just assuming it will probably be a lot easier. So first of all, Marvel Spider-Man 2 will more than likely feature the Green Goblin. Now, at the end of Marvel Spider-Man, Norman Osborn basically resigns as mayor, as you guys probably remember, and that alone is basically evident that he's very close to embracing the villain that lays within, that being Green Goblin. Now, of course, we saw Mary Jane, being the first to discover a prototype mask that then hints the, new arrival of this villain, along with prototypes of Green Goblin's purple grenades. So again, the tech is already there, so by the time a sequel of the game arrives, it's more than likely that Osborn will actually be Green Goblin and be one of the main villains in the game that of course you will have to face. It seems realistic, it seems like the way Insomniac Games have worked with the small details, of course in Spider-Man PS4, means something. The attention to detail in this game was absolutely amazing, and it is safe to say there is 100% going to be loads of Easter eggs in this game that hints towards the sequel. And also, just to give you a better example, of course we had the same Easter egg in Spider-Man PS4 that hinted about where the Avengers are, and then when the Avengers trailer released, of course we found out the exact location where we are, which is what Spider-Man PS4 I guess had as an Easter egg, if you will. Now, moving on, I'm assuming the sequel will turn Harry into like a Venom sort of creature. So another interesting thing to happen at the end of the game is that Norman is doing everything he can, of course, to save his son, where Harry basically suffers some kind of illness that then killed his mother. So that scene that shows Harry suspended in a tank full of green basically, I guess, suggests that Norman is using a version of the Green Goblin, serum to keep his son alive, but there is also a black goo around. And again, that kind of leads on to that Norman is implying to be experimenting with the Venom kind of like symbiote, I guess. So again, it's like, I guess at least of that mystery question that, was Norman actually using the symbiote to help save his son as well? And then will Harry become something like Venom? It seems like a realistic storyline, it seems like it could be possible, and when you see the small details like this, it just makes a whole lot more sense. Now, it's safe to say there's going to be 2 Spider-Man in this game. Again, we do get introduced to Miles Morales at the end of Spider-Man PS4, and he eventually tells Peter that a radioactive spider bit him, then giving him powers of Spider-Man. Of course, then Parker admits to Miles that he is also Spider-Man, and then the DLC also features more conversations between Peter and Miles, and then obviously you get to see Miles finally getting a shot at putting on the mask and leaping off a building. Now, it's highly likely that the next title will feature both Miles and Peter as Spider-Man. Maybe players will get to choose which version of Spider-Man they want to play, or even better, get a chance to switch between the two during gameplay. So I guess switching characters now in open world games as well is something very new, but still being adapted by a lot of games, and it kind of depends on which, you know, open world game you are playing, to be specific. But that being said, I think having the ability to actually switch between Peter and Miles in the sequel would definitely make sense. Now, something I've always wanted to see in a superhero game is multiple endings. Of course, with Spider-Man PS4, you only have one ending. If you want to look at another hero game coming up, of course, the new Avengers game, as far as what we know, there's only going to be one ending, but we know that in that game, of course, as the game progresses, characters change, etc, etc. Whereas with Spider-Man PS4, we didn't kind of get that progression where as the game goes on, you know, the character changes, etc, etc. Even though there was a lot of detail when it does come down to the characters, it wasn't to that extent. So, that being said, if you were to maybe have the option to play against one game, but 2 games at the same time with multiple endings, so you could play the game as Peter Parker, of course you'd be Spider-Man, and then you go through one story. Then you can be Miles Morales, where essentially you link up with Peter or have your own sort of separate mini story that then leads to another ending. Again, it's super tough when it does come to multiple endings, because essentially those now, you know, rely on how the next game is going to be. So going off how this game ended, of course it's definitely hinting though that, you know, Peter Parker and Miles Morales are definitely going to be 2 Spider-Men, and I guess just it goes to that mythical question of, can you play 2 players? Would you want to do that? You guys get in the comment section below and let me know. Now, in terms of a release date for this game, first and foremost, it's safe to say it's more than likely not going to be on the PlayStation 5, just because we've already seen an example where they actually use Spider-Man PS4 and then Spider-Man PS4 on the PS5 in terms of loading times. So I know it might seem a little bit irrelevant, but because they've already kind of showed there, it's safe to say that I guess the team are probably, you know, working on the new console specs, if you will, because there's been loads of leaks for that. So maybe they could be working on a game where it will be, like, I guess, compatible on both consoles. But again, it's safe to also say that it's more than likely that the PlayStation 5 will be announced very, very soon and will have a closer release date than what we probably are anticipating. So that being said, it'll kind of be just a letdown to actually release the game, of course, on your I guess PlayStation 4. PlayStation 5 will just be a whole lot more powerful. Again, it has been around for nearly 6 years, so with the whole, you know, development and hardware going on, we are expecting it to be like early 2020. So as far as everyone does know, Insomniac haven't actually started production on the next Spider-Man game, but again, going off the basis that it may be a few years before it's ready, kind of gives you that realistic time frame. Again, this game hasn't even been out a year, so maybe we might be, you know, jumping the bridge a bit. But you guys get in the comment section below and let me know, is it too soon for a sequel, or do you want them to actually kind of work the way Ubisoft did with Assassin's Creed and kind of aim for yearly releases, considering they have the main mechanics in there, or could that essentially just ruin the franchise, and would you want them to now leave the sequel aside and actually work towards a new superhero game? You guys get in the comment section below and let me know. But that's everything that essentially hints towards the sequel. We have had Insomniac games before as well. I can't remember the exact tweet, but if you guys know, let me know in the comment section below, where they themselves actually hinted about the sequel on Twitter and things like that. So it is safe to say, with the reaction to the first one and, you know, the reaction still to the game and after the DLCs and everything, that they're not going to be putting more content onto the current game, but they're just going to go ahead and make a sequel. But again, you guys get in the comment section below and let me know. Now, to wrap up this video, it is that SDCC exclusive Lego Advanced Spider-Man suit just actually got announced, and this is a picture of it. Now, a lot of people were actually a bit skeptical about this, because a lot of people were saying, how am I gonna, you know, get one if I'm never gonna be there, and the prices of these are gonna be nuts when it does come to the resale prices, etc. But you guys can look into that a lot more if you are sort of a collector for this stuff. It looks interesting. It's safe to say it would be a really, really good exclusive especially, but you guys could do your own research on that one to look for prices. I don't know, I think it's going to be a big thing if it's going to be limited as well, but you guys get in the comment section below, and that is going to wrap up this video here. So as always, if you missed the last one, check it out, subscribe for more awesome content if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, have yourselves a ridiculously amazing day, and adios amigos.